going to continue our series on Living in the Science of Mind by Ernest Holmes. I'm staying really steep this year in the Science of Mind teaching. You'll notice that I started off with the basics of Science of Mind, did 8 weeks on that. Now we're in Living the Science of Mind. We're looking at it, how can we be practical? So in order to be practical, it's about the discovery that God is personal. But how can you have a personal relationship with something that is infinite? How do you have a personal relationship with something that's not human? And you see, just that idea right there is where most religions go. What they do is they want you to have a personal relationship with the divine, so the only thing that they can do is they create an image of the divine that is human. And then you say, okay, and then they give this divine image, they give it human qualities. And therefore you got this idea that this God becomes like a man with a beard up in the sky, and he's judging you just like Santa Claus. Think about that. The idea, I was brought up in Christianity as a Catholic, and the idea of Santa Claus are very much one and the same. If you're a good little boy, Santa Claus will bring you a gift. If you're a good little boy, you'll go to heaven. You see, what's the difference? But the fallacy of that definition is the fact that they have given something that is infinite, that is indescribable, qualities of a human, instead of, wait a second, we're made in its image, so shouldn't we be taking on God qualities? But we don't. We take on these human qualities, and the more we take them on, the more we separate ourselves. We allow that ego to separate us from that which can change our lives. So in order to have a personal relationship with love, with God, it's to know what God is. So let's just embrace that a little bit. God is infinite. Every religion in the world teaches that. God is infinite. What does that mean? Well, you can't really put words to it, but let's try. Everywhere present, that's a good word, isn't it? All-knowing, all wisdom within it. Well, if it's infinite, it has all wisdom, it's all-knowing, it's everywhere present. All-powerful, because if it's infinite, there's nothing other than it, because you cannot have two infinites. If you had two infinites, it would say that one of them didn't have everything included in it. But if it's got everything included in it, there can be nothing other than it. Does that make sense? So it's real simple. There's only God. It's infinite, so it's all-knowing. It's everywhere present. And therefore, because it's everything, I guess it's all-powerful too, isn't it? Well, that's really simple. That's pretty simple, but let's try to grasp that. So if it's infinite, all-knowing, and everywhere present, then I must be a part of it. Whoa. So what's this body? Is this body God? Is this body the God that I am? Well, no, I'm more than this body. I'm more than my emotions. I'm more than my feelings. I'm more than my thoughts. Oh, how do I grasp that idea? The only thing that I understand is, how do I become the observer? See, if I can become the observer where I'm looking at my body, I'm looking at my mind, I'm observing my thoughts, my feelings and emotions, my actions, then I realize that I am not just this, Lee, but I am so much more than that. And then if you take it further, if I'm that, then I must be created out of it, out of God. Because what could God create out of? Only itself. Because there's only it to create, only it, right? God is infinite, right? So if it's infinite, it creates things. What has it got to create it out of? Itself. That's it. So it gave itself freedom and created all these individualized points of consciousness within the infinite consciousness. So you are like a star, except you're really a point of consciousness. Now that point of consciousness that you are recognizes only a fraction, a very small fraction of the infinite nature of what it's a part of. And so our job, our role, our purpose in this life is to realize that we're forever expanding our awareness of who we really are. And as we expand the awareness, we now grasp that we are more than the body, more than the mind. We are free to experience life in its fullness. We really have no limitations other than the ones we give ourselves. That's powerful, isn't it? That really is very freeing when you think about it, so that whatever the human condition that you're experiencing in your life in this moment that you don't want, that human condition changes like this when you tap into your source. And where's your source? It's you. It's in you. It's the realization and recognition. All you're ever doing is you're not becoming more. It's not about you growing into more. It's you becoming aware that what you're seeking is already within you. It's already within you. You don't have to go to Tibet like I'm going. Get up in Mount Kailash at 18,000 feet with the guru, do all these sacred rituals to discover the inner power of God that is within you. You don't need to do that. Do you know why you go to Tibet and you climb Mount Kailash and you get to 18,000 feet and you go around it? Do you know why you do that? Because you're crazy. Because you're so crazy in love with yourself that you want to experience life in ways that you have not even imagined before. Because that's why we have bodies, minds, and feelings, so that we can experience life. And why would we settle to be, well, I'm just going to sit in my little suburban home and do my little suburban things and do this? Why? There's a universe out there. Let's play and dance and do new things in it. It's like my wife was gone last week. You all should know that. She was in Denver. She was being a grandmother. And so in the text I got from my son Matthew was this. Picture of Jean holding little baby Claire. And Matthew goes, "Dad, she will never put her down." I didn't need to respond to that, did I? Isn't that what grandmothers do? I think it's what grandmothers do. But here's the thing, a lot of people during the week say, "Do you miss your wife?" And the answer is, I did not. And you say, he's cold. He said that. His wife's sitting over there. And he just said he didn't miss her. Do you know why I didn't miss Jean? Because she told me she wanted to be with her granddaughter, right? So when she went to be with her granddaughter, she was doing what she wanted, right? So now all the time that I would have dedicated to her, the habits that we built about being together, I now had that time to create more Lee stuff. So I was so busy doing what I wanted to do without any restrictions whatsoever, I didn't miss her. Because I was doing what's natural to create more in your life. You see, this is something, and it's really not that she had to go away, but let's assume I have a relationship with Sarah. We're friends. The only time I should be focusing on Sarah is when I'm with her. And then with Breck, the only time I should be focusing when I'm with Breck or with Bonnie or with Malcolm or Sonny, whoever it is, the only time you put your intention on someone is when you're with them. The rest of the time, you're creating your life. So by holding on to people when they're not even with you, that's boxing you in. They're not with you. Don't drag them with you. They don't want to be dragged with you. They want to do their own thing. You seeing that? Do you see how we put boxes around ourselves? It's like now Jean's here. She's back here. But I'm afraid she still wants to be with Claire. But in order for her to experience life, she's got to say, Claire's there. I'm here. Now I'm going to create my life here the best I can. And then when she goes back to being with Claire, then she's with Claire. Do you get that? That's getting personal power. That's making God personal. Ernest Holmes said this, "No one can find God for us. Each individual must do this for themselves. We cannot find God outside the self because we cannot go outside the self. There is no place where we begin and God leaves off. Do you get that? We keep thinking this spiritual journey is about going outside, finding a guru, finding a teacher, finding a place, finding a book, and the only thing we've got to do is go right within. That's where we've got to go, but we've been led to believe that we've got to go outside to find our joy. Oh, Lee, when you find your perfect wife, you'll be complete for the first time in your life. How many people believe that you need two to make a whole? That's the reason there's so many divorces. Do you get it? Because you're trying to make a whole and you can't make a whole until you become whole, and then this perfect person and this perfect person come together and they share a walk, a journey, a path into discovering life even greater. I think that's what Jesus meant when he said, where two or more are gathered in my name, there's greater power. That's why relationships have such great power. And it doesn't have to be a life partnership. It's any relationship. There's tremendous power being connected to people because we are connected. We weren't meant to go under a rock and meditate. Did you get that? That's not what we were meant to do. We were meant to cohabitate. We were meant to share. We were meant to support. We were meant to have our perceived flaws and see others' perceived flaws and accept them and live and know that it's just a different way of expressing. It's a different way of expanding. So you've got to find God in you. You've got to find spirit in you. You've got to find love in you. You've got to find wisdom in you. You've got to find health in you. I'm trying to use other words besides God, because of how we've been brought up here in the Western world, we've limited our scope to this man in the sky who's judging us. I know when I first started my journey on spiritual awakening, I couldn't use the word God because I had to disassociate from an old image that I was rebelling against that didn't surface me. So a lot of times I would use spirit. Now I'm comfortable understanding that God is more than what I was brought up to believe, but I don't know where you are. So you got to do what's right for you. You've got to discover, what is my relationship? What is the right relationship for me to have with this thing that is infinite that I'm a part of? And here's a great thing about that thing is, without you, it's not complete. You get that? Because it's infinite, without you, it's not infinite. And therefore, you're a very vital part of it, and you've got power to create. We are not setting ourselves up as God, but rather we are setting ourselves up as a center in the consciousness of God. This is real important. A lot of people say, oh, you're so egotistical. You're saying you're one with God. You're saying you're God. No, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is this point of consciousness that I am is the center of my life, and from this point of consciousness, I'm creating experience that I get to benefit from. I get to become more awakened to the magnificence of all that God is, that's all. That's the idea of worshiping God, appreciating all that is. It's not making it higher than you lower than it. It's about appreciating the infinite nature of all that exists. That's why gratitude is such a beautiful spiritual practice. The universe never plays favorites. We are on an eternal journey of self-discovery or self-awakening. Do you get that? The journey is eternal. It doesn't stop. It doesn't stop when you pass and leave this body. It continues. It's eternal. Because if it's infinite and you're a part of the infinite, it takes an eternity for you to realize and experience the infinite. So you're never going to get there. Give it up. Enjoy the moment. You're never going to reach enlightenment. It was really funny. Next week we got Guruji Krunamaya here, and I'll talk about that later. But I remember Guruji Krunamaya giving me my mantra. And we were in we were in the wilderness of India at this 3,500-year-old temple where Guruji had a vision of the Divine Mother. And he took us right to the very spot where he had that image, and Niranjan and I were on either side of him, And Guruji said, I'm going to give you a mantra. And this mantra, if you do it, you will be enlightened. He says, but you have to do the mantra 100,000 times. And you have to do the mantra 100,000 times. Naranjan, you have to do it in 3 months. Lee, you have to do it in 6 months. I said, Guruji, why do I have to do it in 6 months? He says, because you're from the West. Now, can you look at this person? Do you think I'm going to play second fiddle here? No, I did the mantra in 3 months, the 100,000. Now, supposedly when you get the mantra and you do it for 3 months, you get enlightenment. So I finished it. I was a different person. I shifted. I shaped. I could see life differently. And I was talking to Guruji. I said, Guruji, I finished the mantra. He says, now the next level of enlightenment. Do you see that? There's never the level. There's the next level of awareness. And that's what every practice is doing. It's about taking us to the next level. So you never get to the end, so let's give that up. Let's free ourselves from that. We're on an eternal journey. Let's embody that. Just wishing and a hoping and a longing. Who did that? Dionne Warwick, wasn't it? That song with those lyrics in it? I'm aging myself now. But let me tell you, if you're wishing and longing and hoping, they won't bring you on this journey of self-love. You've got to do the work. You've got to do the shifting and the shaping through your spiritual practice. And spiritual practice is about doing something for a greater experience of life, to be able to see life differently, uniquely, completely. The ideal thing is if you're in the divine, you see life in balance. You see the yin and the yang. How often are you there? Very seldom, isn't it? Most of the time we're seeing yin. If we turn this way, we see yang. It could be hot, could be cold, could be joy, it could be sadness. But we never see it in balance. It's only when we come into balance that we're now looking at it through the eyes of the divine. But in the human form, the duality that we have brings us the contrast, which causes us to desire to expand even more. So the whole idea of children rebelling against us constantly. Once they're born, they start the rebellion process because they want to be free to experience life in their unique way, not in the way we want them to experience life. I pressed the button over here. How many parents want their children to be just like they want them to be? Just about every parent ought to have their hand up. No, that's not their purpose to please you. Their purpose is to be themselves and please themselves. And however they do it, it's okay. But we find ways to be together in the world so that we don't have absolute chaos. There must be a persistent and consistent attempt to separate ourselves from the illusion created by the ego and know our truth. The ego wants us to feel separate. It wants us to know separation. It wants to see me as different. It wants to see me as I'm in competition. But the truth is I'm one with life, and life is for me. And if life is for me, then there's a way that we can all win. It's called the process of collaboration, where you do not compromise where both people lose, but you collaborate and create a new idea where both people win. And when both people win, life expands for both, and it's wonderful. That's what I would like to see this country, this world become, a collaborative capitalism. Did you hear that? What would collaborative capitalism be? Could it be that there's enough resources for everyone on the planet? Could it be that we can get together and create, through a process of collaboration, a world that works for everyone? Could it be that we could find a way to allow everyone to use their unique gifts in the way that best serves them, so that they are being an active, contributing member into society where everyone they're benefiting and society is benefiting from their gifts? Could it be that we could eliminate this idea of lack and greed that seems to be everywhere present? Could it be? I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think we can as a collective, a wholeness. And you're looking at me and I can see the look, but what I've come to understand is, doesn't consciousness express itself in infinite ways? So if consciousness has to express itself in infinite ways, there's not a void in consciousness, then won't there be all levels of consciousness at all times? So then the question you got to ask is, okay, am I responsible for the collective consciousness that's out there? I'm not. But I am responsible for whose consciousness? My own. Now, if I can be that, could I attract other people into that? Yes. Could we create a world that can work? Yes. Could it be different than the world we have today? Possibly. I don't know. It's a great experiment. I believe that everyone should be guaranteed an equal opportunity in life. But I believe that we all have a choice as to how we use our power and receive the results of our experience. So no one should be guaranteed an equal result. No, because there's an infinite power that's responding to us, and we have the ability to use that. To say that everyone should be given equal, that's wrong. That's now a confining view right there, isn't it? I'm really sort of trying to open up and press buttons as I'm talking here to get you to think from a bigger and larger perspective. Others can show us how they did this, how they self-discovered, and suggest that we should proceed on our journey, but our journey is unique, and only we can take it. So you hear me talk week in and week out about how I've taken my journey, and I'm on my journey, and I share that freely. Next week, Guru's going to be here, and he's going to share his journey, and he's going to give you his tips. Now, I've been with 5 other gurus. I've been with a whole bunch of other teachers. What I've done is I assimilate into my life the things from each of them that work for me. And that's what your job is, to find out what is it that's out there that works for you. And it's not going to be the same as anyone else, so you don't have to ever compare yourself to anyone else. Someone will say, well, Reverend Lee, your spiritual practice is this, mine's not like that. That's okay. You got to figure out what yours is to do and then not let anyone tell you to do differently. You've got to claim your power. You've got to learn to say no. And you've got to know when to say yes. The most important moment in our life will be the moment when we realize that we must take ourselves for better or worse. In other words, we must learn to self-love. We always come back to love. Always. This is where it all begins and it all ends. When we accept ourselves in our journey, where we are in this moment, we now have a foundation where we can begin. It's our stepping stone to the next stepping stone, to the next stepping stone. So your personal relationship with God is whatever you want. You can create it any way you want. There is no right way, there's no wrong way, but realize it's a power. Sometimes my greatest relationship with this infinite thing is I'm walking and I say, hey, bud, I want to talk to you. And I said, this is what's going on in my mind. This is what I'm experiencing. I need some guidance here. Talk to me. And I'll be walking a little bit later and all of a sudden thoughts start coming. They're not coming from out here, they're coming from in here. So for me, I like having the ability to have a walking, talking relationship with that which I call infinite. You can have it in the silence of meditation. You can have it doing spiritual yoga. You can have it doing just about anything. You could have it washing the dishes. Think about it. It's a conscious act of washing the dishes. If you're so focused on just washing the dishes and you've stopped all those other thoughts and you're fully in the moment, is that not a divine practice? I'm trying to teach Jean that doing the dishes all the time, I didn't even have to finish, did I? You know, you people are getting too aware. I'm going to have to find new jokes or ways of expressing myself here. I'm going to, watch out, I'm coming after you now. I'm going to trick you the next time. But it is, I do my own dishes all the time. I don't try to get Jean to do them. She doesn't want me to do my dishes because she doesn't like the way I do my dishes. And I want you to know that she's very judgmental. And being the spiritual guru that I am, I ignore her. Because I do not get my pleasure, or she is not the source of my happiness. Who is the source of my happiness? I am. And when I do the dishes for myself and I have a clean counter, I feel good. I have an anal, compulsive side to me. I like clean counters. Jean feels counters are clean every once in a while. I like counters clean. Guess what, last week? Clean counters all week long. I was blessing Jean being in Denver. Hallelujah, whatever you are, take her again. No. And it will. Rest assured, I know that. But it's about how do we coexist. And you got to find a way to collaborate. Did you get that? You got to find a way to collaborate and not impose your will on another. Your personal relationship with the divine is a journey of discovery that never, ever, ever ends. When you wake up in the morning, it's the first thing you should be seeking to understand. How can I experience a greater experience of love within me? How can I experience the greater wisdom within me? How can I take my life and go to the next level so I have the life that I've always dreamed of and that I will be constantly creating? How can I be the light in the world? Those are great questions to ask in the morning. Because then it's not about, oh, I got to go to work. How am I going to end this day? Oh, I can't wait till Friday. What's this Friday thing? You ever ask that question? Thank God it's Friday. Do you think God created Fridays? I think not. God didn't create 7 days a week. Humans created that. Then we attached a value to each day. Monday, oh crap. Give me extra coffee. I got to go to work. I got to start this thing. I'm going to share with you. You want to get over what the days of the week mean? Become a minister. There is no more weekends. There's no money. Every day is just a day. Some days you do different things. That's what we've got to come. Every day is a day to begin to create a deeper personal relationship with the infinite power and presence that's within you, and to honor that power and presence as it exists within everyone. That's what a day means. I challenge you to start your day tomorrow differently by asking different questions, and by asking questions that are for more life, for more excitement, for more love, for more peace, more abundance, more health, and more power. Ask questions about how you can get more. Be for something, not against something. Do you accept the challenge? Do you really accept the challenge? I'll be watching you. I am Santa Claus. Let's pray.
I want to thank you for joining us today. I'm so grateful that you took your time to watch or listen to this message. If you found this message beneficial, I would ask that you go to our website, agapecsl.com. Once there, click on the donate button and experience the joy of conscious and purposeful giving. Or if you would like, text your gift by simply dialing 972-532-6976. It is through your gifts that we are able to bring this message to you in the world. I would ask that if you like this message, to please subscribe to my YouTube channel under my name, Lee Wolak. Again, I want to thank you for joining me in the Agape community as we learn how to better self-love through conscious living.